The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of Paltalk.com, AVM software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users, on demand on iTunes and on YouTube, and on my site, GaryBaumgarten.com, where I must admit I outdid myself today. There's so much commentary about so many things happening in the world, and what's really disconcerting is if you look at CNN or the New York Times or the BBC, you're not going to see a lot of these stories. But I've got them for you on GaryBaumgarten.com. Please comment whether you agree with what I write or not. And thanks to our friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we are syndicated across the United States into 12 million additional households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten, but I'm a very confused Gary Baumgarten today. I consider myself a bit of a political junkie. And I think I'm pretty good at following the candidates and their stances on certain issues. However, I'm a little confused about Barack Obama lately. Alan Jacey, our political correspondent, didn't Barack Obama favor public financing of his campaign?
Yeah, he talked about that early on in his campaign, that he would do it. And of course, I think that was so early on, he didn't realize how much money that was out there. And while it is a bit of a spin that he's taking public financing by taking the money from the people, it really wasn't the intent of what the public financing should be, which is caps on the amount of money that each candidate can take. And so, he's basically rejected public financing.
So the answer is Mr. Barack Obama apologist. He was in favor of it, and now he is against it.
Oh, there's no apologies there. I think he totally rejected public financing, and he's spinning it to say that by getting money from the public and funds intent, that it's the ultimate in public financing. I would say that is a spin.
Okay, how about the indemnification of telecommunications companies who cooperate with the government wireless wiretaps? Was he against letting them off the hook at one point?
I don't think he's ever been against letting them off the hook, but I think that if you look at what this bill is, the one that they're talking about passing now, there is nothing in there that says that they cannot be prosecuted, assuming that he becomes the president. So that's an open-ended bill, and it's poorly written, and there are a lot of loopholes that you can vote for and still be able to go after them. So I would change his position. If I was him, I would stay away from that vote on that day.
Well, he stayed away from other votes, too. We could talk about that as well. The war in Iraq, he was the one candidate who said, I've never been for the war. I will never be for the war. Now, did he not just say that he's going to go to Iraq and meet with the generals and reevaluate his position on the war in Iraq?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And he's clearly, let's just say, while he's refining his position. I mean, I think that's the, if you tend to change, the new buzzword seems to be refining your position or evolving your position. I mean, McCain is evolving his position on certain things, and Obama seems to be evolving his position on certain things. So this is another part of the Obama evolution.
Okay, is he evolving on the issue of handgun control? Wasn't he in favor of it until the Supreme Court ruling? And after the Supreme Court ruling, didn't he say, oh, that was a good ruling?
I would say that's more than evolving. I would call that a flip-flop.
Okay. So what's going on with this guy? I'll tell you what's going on with the guy, ladies and gentlemen. He was a breath of fresh air whether you agreed with him or not during the primary because he stood up for his own values. Now they're telling him what positions he has to take in order to get elected. So he's no longer his own man, and he's not even in the office yet. And you wonder why fairness says all these candidates and presidents are puppets. I hate to say, but I agree with her for a change. Scott in Canada. Scott, welcome to News Talk Online on Paltalk.com.
Hello, Gary, and welcome for having me on the show. The way that politics works in the party system is you have to actually win your party nomination first. And we live in a time of polarized politics. And we saw this with the Obama and the Clinton camps really just going at each other. So here you're on just the left, and you're on this one half of the left, and you're fighting to win that whole left. Now, if you go and start sharing, greater values from outside the left, you're not going to win the nomination. Remember, you can't change anything unless you get elected. So now that you've secured the nomination for the party on the left side, what you do is you now just enlarge the demographic in which you have to appeal to. And he's being put into some pretty tight corners and is trying to wriggle around, i.e. with the court case. I mean, that wasn't even a judicial decision when you take a look at it, because all they really said is, we don't have any guidelines in which, you can make a gun control law. We'll just wing it and be reasonable. And he agreed with that, and to appeal to the people who own guns. So the gun control law is not actually, striking down gun control. It just leaves it wide open and undefined. But he did support the Washington law, and now he's supporting it being struck down. To me, that is a flip-flop that I was concerned about, and also the one about the protectionist, and that, he was appealing to the Ohio people, and he knew that if he did win, he would have to deal with the Canadians. So he better, make sure that they're not getting all excited about this, waiting for something to change. I mean, you have to talk to different populations and appeal to them, because if you don't get elected, you can't change anything. And that just seems to be the process under which he's operating right now.
Well, you know what? The American people, I think, Scott, thank you for your call, are sick and tired of politics as usual.